We have been talking about the Lane Colony, how it was all men. They were gentlemen, they did not know how to farm, and they were more interested in finding gold and riches. So, and they're fighting and they're arguing amongst each other and with the Native Americans, caused the colony not to be successful. And they left when Sir Francis Drake, who was fighting the Spanish in the war with Spain, came and took them, picked them up and brought them back to England. Now, once they got back to England, the king and queen really thought about, well, this is the second time we tried to colonize this and it didn't work. But they had learned some things from the other two failures, and so they decided to try it a third time and send John White. John White had been a participant in the other two attempts to colonize. And the one big change they made when they put together the White Colony was the men they had come were married men with women and children. You see, women calm men. And the idea was if these men had their families there, they would be more willing to build the homes, build the fort for safety, farm and provide food for their family, as opposed to looking for riches and jewels and gold. So John White decided not only would he bring men and women.
We need a custodian to open room 807. A custodian to open room 807, please.
But he also decided that because the Lane Colony antagonized the Native Americans in the area, that he would move the colony farther north, a little farther north of Roanoke. In this colony, his daughter came with him on this adventure, and the first first European born in the Americas was Virginia Dare. That was White's granddaughter. Now, once they got there, they had some problems, and some of the problems that they inherited from the Lane Colony was poor relations between the Native Americans and the colonists. Remember, the Lanes killed the chief, burned the village. You don't make friends that way. Now, they came with the idea, they came during the summer, and they came with the idea that they needed to be dependent on these Native Americans to help them get through the winter. And so the summer brought drought conditions, the harsh winter, and the Native Americans were not very friendly. And so by spring, they were in real trouble. Their supplies had really run low, and they didn't think they had enough to live until the harvest came in September. So for the survival of the White Colony, they told John White to go back to England and get more supplies. And that is what John did. But when he went to England, in that 3-month period, England went to war with Spain. And when he talked to the Queen saying, we need these supplies to make this colony work, the Queen said no. In fact, you cannot have your ships back. We need them to fight the Spanish Armada. So John, who had no contact, there was no electricity, telephone, snail mail, anything with the colonists, had to wait 3 years in England, not knowing what the fate was of his daughter or his granddaughter, Virginia Dare. When he finally, after 3 years in England, wins the war with Spain, he makes it back to Roanoke Island. There's no one there. It's called the Lost Colony. It was empty. The people were gone. And they had made a pact before he left 3 years earlier that if they were in trouble and he came back, the sign that they would put out they would carve a cross into a tree to let him know that it was danger, the Native Americans. When he came, he found no cross etched in a tree. All he found were C-R-O sketched in a tree and Croatan sketched in a tree near the entrance of the fort. The fort was overgrown. You could tell people had not lived there for quite a while. And he had no idea what had happened to them. White and the people with him searched the area, and they found no trace of what happened to his daughter, granddaughter, and the rest of the settlers and families. So White has no option but to return to England. he goes before the king and says, I don't know what happened to him. It failed. We don't know what to do. So the king is reevaluating, trying to colonize North America. And he says, I just don't have the money after fighting the war with Spain to go ahead and put it into another colony. So I am going to allow investors to pool their money, create a company, and let that company establish the colony. So the company would be behind it, and people would need to invest to be a part of it. Once a company decided to do this, the main men in the company looked at what made these last three attempts succeed and what made them fail. And they came to the conclusion that they were going to have to do the colony totally different. So they decided to move up the colony from Roanoke Island, the Lost Colony in this area of Armadas and Barlow tried it, and the Lane Colony, the White Colony, up here to Chesapeake Bay. And they called this the Jamestown Colony. And that is where we're going to begin next. What I need for you to do is bring these notes to class, and then we'll go from there.